So many cleats, so many silos, so many different price points. What about those of us that just want to slip on a pair of cleats, express ourselves, and enjoy the game? Enter Game Mode. Adidas breaks the mold by offering one type of cleat with one price, 2 builds, a synthetic and a textile upper, and tons of different colors. Not just colors, but clubs, moments, celebrations, environmental causes, and socio-cultural causes. Don't short through the noise, flip your mode to game, and you do you with Game Mode. Adidas, if you want to use that for like a commercial voiceover or something like that, you're more than welcome to. I don't normally read the marketing material to you guys when I review a pair of football boots because ultimately it doesn't really matter when you're talking about what is objectively good and what is objectively bad. But in the case of the new Adidas Game Mode, it is the reason for the football boot's existence. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the new Adidas Gamemode Textile. There is, of course, a full synthetic variation, which I plan on reviewing on the channel as soon as I can get my hands on a pair. But it's a football boot that retails for $100 US and is designed for people that are intimidated by choosing any other pair of football boots that are marketed in the traditional way of being all about performance and speed and whatever else these brands like to tell us their boots are going to do for us. And in saying all of that, I want to be crystal clear in saying that I am here to review this particular pair of Game Mode football boots, what the colorway represents, the causes, whatever the backstory is. Ultimately, that does not matter to me. I want to tell you whether or not this is objectively a good or bad football boot. But as far as the whole idea behind the Game Mode series is concerned, sure, it's good to offer good value, this retailing for $100, which is a lot less expensive than your top-end options. But I also think it's a little bit ridiculous on Adidas's part to say that there are so many choices and so many different silos out there that it can be a little bit intimidating for first-time buyers, people that just want a pair of football boots and don't really care about hype or performance or anything like that. But that's an environment that they themselves created. So then to come out and say, this is too intimidating, buy this one instead, it's just adding another option on supposedly too many options to begin with. With all of that said, I plan on breaking down everything there is to know about the new Game Mode boots because I actually think they're pretty decent. We'll also take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you were potentially interested in those, stick around because you're going to learn a lot about them. And of course, if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you don't have to pay the full retail price. You can get them with some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the review page on my website, which you can access by clicking the first link down below. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying the video and perhaps want to see more reviews of budget-friendly football boot options, don't forget to support this one with a like. And I've also noticed that a lot of you guys who watch my content aren't actually subscribed to the channel. If that's you, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. So first things first, the look, which would normally just be a judgment on whether or not you like the way they look or dislike the way that they look, but part of the storytelling behind the Game Mode pack is that the colorway represents something, and this being the Primegreen colorway, it represents environmental causes, where this textile upper utilizes a minimum of 50% recycled materials, where you can see they've gone for a mostly white upper, this kind of faded green Adidas stripe on the lateral side, which I quite like the look of. Almost no branding on the medial side, a little bit of a green stitch towards the top of the tongue area. You're gonna find the Adi branding on the back embossed, which is very, very subtle. You can see it says End Plastic Waste in this little white on white logo here on the lateral side. You have a green accent on the back of the heel that reveals the Game Mode branding. And then the sole plate is a combination of white and green with, again, small Adidas logos and some subtle Game Mode branding once more. As for the boots themselves, my first issue with them is the price, which is something that I actually talked about with J Mike from Unisport on the Boot Nerds podcast for those that saw that episode. But I think that the story and the concept behind this boot is accessibility, and people that are not interested in the hype, they don't want to look at all the different silos and options on offer from the Adidas brand as well as everybody else. They just want a pair of football boots that they can strap on their feet and play, which is fine, and that's effectively what they've given us with the Game Mode boots. And I'm not even saying that they're not worth $100 because they're actually better than I was expecting them to be. But if the name of the game is kind of entry-level accessibility, then why are these more expensive than Adi's own 0.3 options? And that's where, for me, I think the story kind of breaks down a little bit, because it's this presentation of a football boot for the people that don't want to do any research. But if you did do that little bit of research, you could save yourself at least $20 and get a football boot that is equally as good, if not better, in any of Adi's own 0.3 options. I hate to say it's deceptive marketing, but it does seem a little bit deceptive to me. As for the physical construction of the boots themselves, the upper is what they're calling Primegreen, which utilizes, like I mentioned, a minimum of 50% recycled materials, and it's basically a textile base with a fuse overlay of really thin translucent plastic, where you can actually see the textile weave throughout the entire upper. And as far as the feel is concerned, they pretty much feel like a pair of socks with minimal structure to them. The internal liner is also a textile material, so it's very soft, it's very flexible, and it's one of those uppers that feels pretty well broken in the second that you slide them on your feet. Of course, it does also feature a one-piece upper construction, where you have some of that exposed textile material that is extremely thin and very, very stretchy, and then the lacing system is pushed slightly off-centered, which I actually quite like the look and feel of. And despite the boot kind of looking a little bit chunky in hand here, as you'll see a little bit later in the video, the wrap around your foot is actually pretty good, and it has a little bit of a wider, higher volume base, which some people might like, some people might dislike. Obviously, everyone's foot type is going to work better or worse depending on which football boot it may be. But again, if they're going for this kind of comfortable out of the box entry-level option, I think the wider, higher volume shape that they've gone for is going to be pretty comfortable for most people as soon as they slip them on their feet. You will, of course, find a low-cut design with this particular boot, an internal plastic heel counter with a little bit of an extension piece here on the back that's more so for branding than anything else. And then internally, the heel liner is admittedly a little bit on the cheap side. It's kind of this mesh material that has some texture to it. It's actually not as slippery against your socks as I was expecting it to be. So in that regard, it's not that bad. And then kind of typical of a lot of Adidas takedown models, the insole is technically removable, but they do glue it down, so I'm not going to remove it. And it's, in my opinion, cheaper than it should be, given that this retails for $100. Moving to the base of the boot, you're going to find the brand new Gamemode sole plate and stud pattern, which is kind of a thicker plastic sole plate that has really good flexibility to it. A lot of Adidas sole plates, as far as takedown models go, have not been all that great over the years. This actually feels pretty decent. And as far as the stud pattern is concerned, it's the same general layout we're used to seeing from the Adi brand, with 4 studs in the heel, 6 studs in the forefoot, but then they've added 4 support studs running through the middle of the forefoot that they're claiming is for better pressure distribution, for better overall comfort, and of course, the FG-AG capability that this football boot is supposed to have. Again, entry-level option for somebody that just wants a pair of football boots that work, that they can use on just about any surface. And for that purpose, I think that this is actually a pretty decent stud pattern. It provides really good traction. The pressure distribution, because of these extra studs in the forefoot, is actually something that I'm a big fan of. And the feel of the boot underfoot is undeniably quite comfortable. It does strangely feel like the heel is slightly lifted, at least more so than a lot of other football boots that I've tried, but that's something that you quickly get used to. And all in all, I think the sole plate and stud pattern is actually the best aspect of this football boot. Which brings us to the weight, where the Gamemode boots are not that impressive. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that this Primegreen textile version of the boot weighs in at 9.9 ounces, the equivalent of 281 grams, which slots it into the heavier category of modern football boots. Certainly a lot heavier than any of the high-end models, and actually heavier than what you're gonna find from pretty much all of the cheaper 0.3 takedown models. So in terms of value for money, for $100, at least from a weight perspective, there's not too much to be excited about here. So here they are on feet, and I do happen to think that the colorway and the overall design does look quite good. It's a very clean looking Adidas boot. And I also have them paired up with some white Pure Socks Classic, which, kind of following the same theme of these boots, the idea is to offer a good quality sock at the most affordable price possible, which again, when you're talking about people that are buying football boots with very little knowledge, a good pair of socks really go a long way in terms of your overall experience, and I think most importantly, avoiding blisters. If you are interested in some Pure Soft Classic for yourself, they're available now in either black or white for just $6.99 a pair. And we also offer affordable grip sock options as well if that's something that you're into. They're available at puregripsocks.com, which of course will be linked down below. Now, as far as how these fit and feel on feet, they're admittedly very comfortable out of the box. The upper that they've gone for here is super soft. It has that little bit of stretch to it. And honestly, it feels like you're wearing a pair of socks. Like I mentioned, the heel liner is a little bit slippery, but not as bad as I was expecting it to be. And I think it's noticeable that the sole plate is much more solid than the upper. So in that regard, I don't think it's necessarily the most cohesive feeling football boot, and that you can definitely tell that all the weight is underneath your feet, where the upper is quite thin and light. And then the lockdown provided by this off-centered lacing system isn't the greatest in the world. All in all, this is, again, a very basic football boot in terms of how it feels and the performance characteristics it has on offer, but they are comfortable, which is a definite plus. As far as shape and width is concerned, the actual shape of the boot, I think largely due to the cut, reminds me a lot of what you're going to find from Nike's Phantom GT line, which may be a good or bad thing depending on your foot type and personal opinion. For me, I think they fit decently well. You're gonna get some of those creases through the midfoot, just like the Phantom GT, because of the off-centered lacing system. And in general, it's a boot that is wide enough to fit most foot types, even if you do have wider feet. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, I'll be honest in saying that they exceeded my expectations as far as objective fit, feel, and overall performance is concerned. I think they are decent football boots. Are they worth $100? I guess that's a matter of personal opinion. For me, if it was my money and I was on a budget for a new pair of football boots and I did even the smallest amount of research, perhaps even just watching this video, I think you'd be much better off spending $80 or even getting a pair on sale of the new Copa Sense 0.3. I think that, in terms of value for money, is significantly better than what you're getting right here. And it's worth noting that this is the Primegreen colorway, and a lot of people really value the fact that this utilizes a minimum of 50% recycled materials in the upper. There's something to that, but I think the presentation with the whole game mode pack being these football boots that are super accessible and not intimidating, and this is what you should buy if you don't want to do any research and you just want kind of the basics of a football boot. You are effectively getting the basics, but they're actually charging you more for the basics than you could also get from 0.3 options and other $80 to $60 football boots that have always been available from Adidas as well as other brands. As an entry-level pair of football boots, I think they're decent, but I don't think the $100 price tag is justified, especially considering the marketing story that Adidas is pushing with this football boot. They are telling you not to do any research and buy these boots because they're the best option for the money, when in fact, the reality is that's not actually the case. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in some game mode boots for yourself, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions or comments of your own, feel free to leave that down below in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.